Okay, we're up to Nun Beis Amid Beis. We just saw that Mishnah said that Mekadesh with Kachim Kidushin or Kachim Kalam Einim Mekudeshes, and even though Rabbi Yosef Glili that Kachim Kalam is Mamin Bailim, it's only when it's alive. And here we're speaking about Mekadesh Bechelka, you mean Mekadesh with your Chelek, and therefore what? It's after the Shechita Kabbalah was Rika Vailacha, and he's Mishulchan Gavaya Kazacho. It's Hashem allowing you to eat, but it's not yours to do whatever you want with it. So we're up to three lines down where it gets wide on Nun Beis on the days. Tan Rabbanim. After Rabbi Meir's Petiri, after he left this world, Amalem Rabbi Yehuda, his bar plukta, Rabbi Yehuda said to his Talmidov, to his own Talmidim, Al Yichnasu Talmidei Rabbi Meir L'kan. Do not let Rabbi Meir's Talmidim come here. They should kanshronim him. They're kanshronim. Exactly what that means. Rashi says they're people who they chepper a lot. They're not coming to learn. And they're going there just to go ahead and literally shot me down with their questions. And Dachik Sumchis, so Sumchis was Dachik, he pushed his way in. Sumchis is the Talmud Muvik of Reb Meir. They're buried next to each other, right, in Tveria. And Benifnis, Amar Lahem, Kach Shon Reb Meir. This is what Reb Meir taught me. Hamekadish Bechelkoi, Ben Kachim Kidushin, Ben Kachim Kalam, Loy Kidesh. That it's that you're not, it's not Mekudeshes. And therefore the money is not, if the money is still retained, it's not the money, the Kachim is not, you want Moil Behegdish. Koyes Reb Yehuda Aleim, Amalehem, Loy Kachamarti Lechem, so why do you let them in? Like why do you let them in? I told you not to let them in. Now, what's Rabbi? Why are they kanshranim? What was wrong with Sumchis statement? What was wrong with Sumchis statement? Lenny, we got six lines up on Nun Beis on the base. The Isha ba'azar minayin. Where do you know an Isha can come into the Azara? In other words, your question is a moot point. In order to be Mekadesh and Isha, l'chayra, you have to give the Kidushin to the woman. And how is a woman allowed in the Azara? Now look at Rashi, fellas. Says Rashi, the Isha b'azar minayin, the Ktani Kochi Kidushin. Right? Now it's Kochim Kalam is in all of Yerushalayim, but Kochi Kidushin is only in the Azara. If you would take it outside the Azara, I feel Ezras Noshim, even to the Ezras Noshim, I picture guys going out of the Azara, leaving Shar Nikner and going into the place with the four chambers. That's Ezras Noshim. That's where the simplest Beis HaShoeva took place. And Yadi D'Yoyma. That's where the simplest Beis HaShoeva took place in that area. And that's where they made a Tikkun Gadol. They made that what? They made an Ezras Noshim on top. And it's called the Ezras Noshim. Hey Nifsalam, the Kachim would automatically be Yaitza. So what's the Kachim Kadashim? Chatas, Asham, Mincha, all eaten by Azara. If you would take it out of the Azara, it's what? It's puzzle. So the only way to Mekadesh the Isha would bring the Isha into the Azara. And the Noshim ain't Nechnas like, says Rashi, and women would not go into the Azara. Kidit Nan Ba'avois Hatama, Perikama de Masechta Kalem. So it's mashma from Rashi that women were never allowed into the Azara. Let's see Taisvis. Isha bazar minayin perish b'kontris. The Isha nechnases bazara kedit nam verakam de kalim. V'loy duck says Taisvis. Rashi was not being exact. V'loy ashken b'shum duchte dinoshim asurus likonis bazara. It does not exist any Mishnah in Kalim or any other place that says women are not allowed into the Azara. Shay perakam de kalim tanan hachel mekudesh imeno shein tamei meis nechnas l'sham. Tamei meis cannot go there. L'mayli imeno is Ezus Yisrael. Shem Mechus Kippurim nechnas l'masham, Chayom Lam Chatas L'mayli Imenu is Esus Kahanim, and go through the whole thing. But like Ketani in the whole place, we didn't learn that Nashim ain't nechnas l'sham. V'oy Tanan Perek Kol Apsulim Shashchita Ksher b'Nashim, and Kein Yachli Kanis Bazar to Shech. V'oy Ari Saita v'Nezira nechnases Bazar lehinif. They both went in the Azara to go ahead and waive their various gemanas in there. So l'chayra, what does Rashi mean? So Tosfos disagrees with Rashi. It's kind of shaykh a woman to be in the Azara. And nearly, Lakach nearly says Tosfos, Isha ba'Azara leheskadesh minayin. In other words, women can be in the Zara, but to go ahead and accept Kidushin, I would not think that's the most romantic spot to go ahead and do it. For a woman to go into and say, "Oh, guess what? Let's you set up the will you marry me?" So where are you going? Into the Zara, where only Kahanim picture the Mizbeach and the smoke and the animals being geschachten. What a great place to go ahead and pop the question, right? So says Taisus, that's what it means. Doesn't mean women are not allowed in the Azara. Woman found in the Azara for the purpose of Kidushin. That was not. And therefore, that's what Taisus mentioned Pshat over here. Okay? So in other words, this is Rabbi Yehuda's complaint. You let the Talmidim of Meir come in. They're asking me questions which are a moot point because you'll never have a Heicha Timsa of a woman being Mekabel Kiddushin of Kachay Kedushim, because women will not go in the Azara for the purpose of Kiddushin. Okay, so it's a Milsa Shchicha. Back in the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi said, Rabbi Yossi, Yaimru, if I'm Meir Shachav, Meir is Nifta, Yehuda Koas, Yehuda is angry, Yoshi Shosak, and Rabbi Yossi was quiet. Divrei Torah, Ma Te'aleha, and if I don't say anything, what's going to happen? So good, a woman can't go in there. What's wrong with what's wrong with a father being Makabel Kedushin in the Azara? No, so it's mashma from the Gemara more like Rashi, guys. In other words, if the whole Yisoid is that it's not really common to have Kedushin in the Azara, so if that's the case, what's the difference between a woman or a woman sending a shliach or a man being makabel? Unless you happen to go ahead and meet the man or meet the shliach at that spot. Could be that's the pshat. But anyway, l'chara, in other words, I can go ahead and give you a hechatimsa where a woman would be able to go ahead and receive kachay kedoshim if it was permitted. Why? Either al yidei her father, if she's a katana or a naira, or yidei a shliach. Right? So therefore, that's what Yossi says. So the Meir's Talmidim are not going ahead and then shepherding too much Rabbi Yehuda. Another time they would dachak, they pushed their way in. My Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Mikudeshes, right? And they came in and they wanted to know Rabbi Yehuda the reasoning. Rabbi Yehuda says Mikudeshes, Rabbi Yossi says Ena Mikudeshes. Rabbi Yechanan, Shnei Mikro Echad Darshu. They both darshan in the same pasuk. It says V'zei Yelecha. The pasuk says V'zei Yelecha Mikotchei Kedoshim Min Eish Kol Karbonim L'chol Minchasam L'chol Chatasam L'chol Hashamam Asher Yeshivu L'Kodesh Kedoshim L'chol Hu L'Vanecha. Okay, so now we darshan the pasuk. Rabbi Yehuda Sabalach L'chol L'chol Tzarchecha for you. V'zei Yelecha Mikotchei Kedoshim for you and all your needs. And therefore, what? If you want to mekadesh a woman with it, you could. Rabbi Yossi Savar Keish, that your carbon is compared to Eish, as it says, just like Eish is to broil it. Afhunami la'achila. So the purpose of the carbon is to eat and not to mekadesh an isha. Okay, so now we have two pshatim. We have Rabbi. We have Rabbi Yehuda saying that Kachay Kedushim you would be Mekudeshes, and Rabbi Yossi says not. So according to this, Rabbi Yehuda is disagreeing with Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda is disagreeing with Meir, even though in the Mishnah he didn't. Look back on our Mishnah. Hamakadosh bechelko ben Kachay Kedushim ben Kachem kalam eino Mekudeshes, right? And Rabbi Yehuda did not argue. We have a brayso over here that he says that Mekudeshes, you are Mekudeshes. So and Rabbi Yehuda says they both dash in the same pasuk. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that it appears that Rabbi Yehuda is arguing with Rabbi Meir. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Nimnu v'gamru. In the Rabbanim, they stood up and they were counted, and they concluded, Hamakadosh bechelkoi bein b'kachay kedoshim bein b'kachem kalim like Kiddush. In other words, that Rabbi Yehuda would agree that it's not a good Kidushin, and that's our Mishnah, guys. That's why in our Mishnah, no one disagreed. It was only Rabbi Meir said his din, and Rabbi Yehuda agreed with it. Now, Rav Amar Adayin Hi Machlokes. Rabbi says it's still a machlokes, that Rabbi Yehuda would say that he didn't have charata, and he would say that lecha for everything you want to use it for, and therefore you can mekadesh bechelkai. So Rabbi Yochanan says there's no machlokes. They both agree, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, you can't. And Rav is saying no, it's still a machlokes. Rabbi Meir is saying you can't, and Rabbi Yehuda is saying you could. Says the Gemara, Amar Abaya, Kavasei Rabbi Yochanan Mistabra, that Rabbi Yehuda agrees. Okay, so now, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to quote a long-winded brisa that says you can't barter kachin. In other words, you can't say you're a kayin and I'm a kayin, and you say, well, I like a mincha and you like a chatas. You know what? I'm a vegetarian. If you're a kayin, you can't be a vegetarian. But I prefer milchiks. So give me the mincha and you take the chatas. Give me the asham, you take. In other words, we're going to show that you can't barter anything. You can't barter. And we're going to see, and since you can't barter it, right, that it's not yours, we're going to say this is all quotes from Vayikra. Vayikra is called Taras Kahanim, and the Stam Sifra is Rabbi Yehuda. So we're going to see that Rabbi Yehuda agrees that you can't be Makadesh Bechelkai from this, which is a riot to Rabbi Yochanan, and not Rav. Again, Rav says Yehuda disagrees and says you could be Makadish. So just bear with me. It's going to take us a good almost the rest of the page, and it's a din in Kavanah. Just to bear in mind a few yediyas. There's we know the blood karbanis we know as a chatas and an asham are blood karbanis that are kachik kadashim, and oil can't be eaten. Right? A mincha, there's various types. There's a mincha called a machvas, which is a flat pan, it's like a kugel, and a macheshes, which is a big pan. Since the machvas is flat, like a kugel, the oil burns it and hardens it. The machvas is like this, so it's not so hard. It's softer in nature. We also have the oif. An oif is not geschachten. An oif, the kohen would take his finger with his long nail and go through the back, and that's called malika. So with that in mind, let's begin. Says the Gemara. Amar Abaya, Kavasei Rabbi Yochanan Mistabra, that Rabbi Yehuda agrees that you can't be Mekadesh Bechelkai. The Tanya. There's a brisa in Taras Kahanim again in Sifra. The Tanya. Minayin Shein Cholkim Menachos Keneged Zvachim. How do you know they can't barter? That the Kohen says, I'll take the mincha and you'll take the zevach. Talmud Loimar, the pasuk says, B'chol mincha asher te'afe b'taner, any mincha that is baked in an oven, and then it continues, the chol b'nei aron tiyeh. It's mashma that the mincha itself should be divided to b'nei aron. In other words, everyone gets a piece of the action. Not you're gonna get. I'm gonna take your piece and you're gonna get my zvachim. It's mashma. Everyone gets a piece of the action. You can't barter. Yachol lo yechalkum b'nachas keneged zvachim. I would think you can't barter a mincha opposite the zevach. Shalei kamu tachteim bedalos. We know there's karbanis that are called oil v'yored vayikra hay. If you make a shuas edus, you swear falsely. You enter the base of Migdash, or the Tumah. These are all kabbanis you're going to bring depending upon your financial wealth. So we know that you never have a mincha taking the place of a zevach, but you will have the mincha taking the place of a knife. Says the Gemara. So I would think minchas keneged zvachim. Shleikamu tachteim bedalis. If the person who's in need of a korban is poor and he can't afford an animal, right? So what does he bring? He brings birds. But a mincha, and a mincha can't take that place. Avo, yachloiku minachas keneged oifos. I would think he could barter a mincha keneged a bird. Shari kamu tachteim bedalis, because if he can't afford birds, he brings a mincha. So maybe you could barter. It says anything that's made in the pan called a marcheshes. Again, an extra pasuk. It should be b'nei aron. Right. That you can't be chalik zeh only you divide it b'nei aron altogether. Yachalam, I think lo yecholku menachas keneged oifos. I would think that you can't barter a mincha keneged knife. Shalalu mine damim, because the oif is after all a blood carbon to some extent. Balalu mine kamachim, and the other one is a flour carbon. I would think you can barter a bird keneged zvachim, since they're both karbanis that involve a certain avodas adam. Shalalu alalu mine damim. It says next to it al machvas chol b'nei aron tiyeh, And since I don't need the machvas to teach me a din in mincha, keneged oif, but mincha keneged zevach, I'll use it to teach me what? An oif keneged zvachim. Yachol shlo yechalku oif is keneged zvachim, okay, because we have that pasuk of al machvas l'chol b'nei Aaron, because halolu ma'aseh biyad, because the malika is done with your hand. You have a yitziporin. Your fingernail is facilitating the death of the bird. But halolu ma'aseh b'kli, but the behemoth with shchita, with a knife. I might think, okay, you like a machvas, I like a macheshes. I might think you can barter. Halolu b'halolu ma'asehim biyad, and since both of them, the kamitza is done with the hand, so maybe you could barter one mincha keneged another, a different type. Tamaloima. L'chol mincha belula b'shemen, l'chol b'nei Aaron tiyah. Again, l'chol b'nei Aaron, and belula b'shemen is machvas macheshes. Yachol shelo yichalku meha machvas keneged macheshes and macheshes keneged machvas. Shezu ma'aseh rachim, because a macheshes is called a ma'aseh rach. Again, I told you in its consistency, it's going to be softer. Shezu ma'aseh koshim, and the machvas is going to be harder because of the way of the pen is. I might think you can go, since they're the same carbon, I might think you can barter, right? My same koshim, inami my same rachim. Either it's both machvas or macheshes. Tamad leimar the chareva the chol b'nei Aaron tiyah. So again, there's a chol b'nei Aaron tiyah that each one should get a piece of the action and not barter. Okay, so far no question. Yachol shlo yechalku, right? Kahanim, a carbon connected its friend because they Kidushin, right? I would say the king wants mincha connected a chatas, avol yachloiku b'koshem kalim. I would think b'koshem kalim, since they have some type of sechia in it, that why he can give it to his kids, he can give it to his wife. Koshem Kidushin is only eaten by the males. Koshem kalim can be misaka to your family. Tamad loymar ish ka'achiv v'samachle im al toida yakrivenu. And we darshin shekashem shein cholkim b'koshem Kidushin kachin cholkim b'koshem kalim. Ish chelik afilu balmum, right? Even if the balmum gets a piece of the action, beina koten bafilu tam. Okay, now you see over here that you don't get a piece of that, you don't get a chelik in the kosher Kidushin, right? The Baisa said, right? We see that it's not yours to go ahead and barter, right? It's Hashem giving it to you, and we said by kosher Kidushin. Now this doesn't say who said it, right? But this is in Sifra, Stam Sifra. Who taught us the brises in Taras Kahanim and Vayikra? Money is Rabbi Yehuda. But who Amar, and he's right in the brisa the lesbe that the ain chaluka klal, right? You can't go ahead and switch it at all. So Shmami know that even by kachim kalim, which is einam amayna umishol gavoy kazacha, right? You can't get a piece of the action and the mela. So it's a kasha, right? It's not really a kasha. It's really a raya to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said that Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that you can't be mekadesh with kosher kedoshim or kosher kalim for that matter, because it's not your chelik. Rav said it is a machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan says it's not a machlokes. We have this long-winded brisa that what seems to substantiate Rabbi Yochanan, that Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion you can't be mekadesh because you can't switch a chelik and a chelik. Amarava, ucharav mi like Tanya, right? Then we have Rav that Rabbi Yehuda. Right, that Rabbi Yehuda did not change his mind, and he taka said that mikudeshes to Hatanya. Now this is speaking about what the lechem aponim. Lechem aponim was brought from week to week. It was switched and eaten on when they brought the ketairis on Shabbos. They would divide 6 loaves to the mishmar going in, 6 months to the mishmar going out. And during the time where the people, there was a bracha in the lechem aponim. You would eat a little bit of it, a kasayas, and it would satiate you, right? And then there's a time where only during the second bias, during the reign of Shimon HaTzadik, did it satiate, because most of the time of the second bias was underneath the Romans. It was a political position, and then it was a curse in lechem upon him. He didn't go ahead and eat, and it didn't satiate at all. Even the size of a bean. So that's what's under discussion over here. That is lechem upon him during, right? In the 40 years of Shimon HaTzadik, when he was the Kohen Gadol, there was a bracha in the lechem upon him, and you get a kesayis and it would satiate you, and Then there was a time where there was no bracha in there, and even can pull. So he had sunuyim moishchenes yadayim imenu. They since they didn't satiate them, they would not take a piece of the action. The hagargonim cholkim, and the gargonim, the gluttons, they would go ahead and they would go ahead and they would say, okay, you don't want it, let me give you something else. Okay, so it's mashma that what you like Rabbi Yehuda, that you did have a piece of the action because you could barter. So the Gemara says no, that's not what happened. My cholkin, you know what cholkin means? Cholkin means choitfen, right? It means right. Choitfen, they would chop it. The gargonim, they would chop it from them. They would say, listen, you don't need it anyway, so they would chop it. He took his chelik and the chelik of his friend. But Ben Chamsin, they called him Ben Chamsin ad yoim Maisai till the day of his death. They called him Ben Chamsin, Chaper. So the bottom line is, Rav does not have a raya that you could take the chelik, because if you take the chelik, you would consider a Chaper. Amar Rabba var Shila, Mikro, what's the pasuk that you're a Chaper? It says, the pasuk says, Elokai palteni miyad Russia, save me from the hands of a Russia, mikaf ma'avel v'chaimitz, from the pawn, literally of a schemer or extortionist. Rabba mehacha, lomdu heitiv dirshu mishpat ashru chametz, learn to be benevolent and justice and relieve the people who are victimized. The bottom line is we should go ahead and, okay, bottom line is, let's do Yotzim Midvarenu, guys. We have a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav, Kufa, whether Rabbi Yehuda agrees that you can't be Makadosh Bechelka B'Kodesh Kadashim or not, and Kokachin Kalam as well, since it's speaking after the Shechita. Like Reb Meir, you can't. Like Rabbi Yehuda, you can't, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Like Rav, Reb Meir, you can't. Rabbi Yehuda, you could. Okay, the latter part of the Mishnah, it said two halachas. First, we had Ma'aser Sheni, being shoygin being b'mezid like Kiddush. You can't either shoygin and mezid. You can't be mekadosh to Reb Meir. Yehuda says b'shoygin not, b'mezid yes. Okay, and by Kidushin was the opposite. By Kidushin, Reb Meir said b'mezid yes, b'shoygin not, and Reb Yehuda said b'shoygin yes, b'mezid not. So let's get into this Gemara a little bit. Ma'aser Sheni being b'shoygin being b'mezid like Kiddush to Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda Omer shoygin like Kiddush, mezid Kiddush. Minani mili. Amar Avacha, okay, so the Gemara wants to know. Minohan imili. Okay. How do you know that Ma'aser Sheni you can't use? Now, guys, what's the svara that you shouldn't be able to use Ma'aser Sheni? Is because it's not yours. It's the same thing as Kodesh. It's not yours. It's Mammon Gavaya. According to Rabbi, it's Mammon Gavaya. That's it. Amar Avacha Brei Rav Mishmei the Gemara. That's very interesting. What does it mean Mishmei the Gemara? Good Rashi, guys. 4 lines up from the bottom. Mishmei the Gemara. Kach nikfa the Gemara. This was Kaiveya in the Gemara. Ushagur b'fi b'nei beis hamedrash, and it became set in the mouth of the people of the beis medrash. So that's why it was repeated over. This was a saying in the beis medrash. Amar Racha Brei the Rav Mishmei the Gemara. Right. V'chol ma'isa aretz mizera aretz mipriya eitz lahashem hu kodesh lahashem. Now. Hashem hu v'loy l'kadosh b'yisha. It's for Hashem, not l'kadosh. Now, in the Havmin of the Gemara, fellas, it's kodesh l'Hashem, but the limit is going to be from the word hu. Ultimately, the maskon of the Gemara is going to be l'Hashem hu, meaning what is l'Hashem hu? The havaya hey, it will always be to Hashem. In the Havmin of the Gemara, the pasuk is from kodesh l'Hashem. So the Gemara is going to ask other sources. So again, this will stand up. This is going to hold at the end. Like Reb Meir, the reason you can't be Mekadosh with Ma'aser Sheni is because it's Mammon Gavo. It's not your money. Therefore, whether you do it b'shoygeg. So now, the question is, why then would there be a difference if you do it b'shoygeg b'mezid, right? Reb Meir says no difference. Rabbi Yehuda makes the chilek, right? Rabbi Yehuda says b'shoygeg yes, b'mezid not. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to ask on this limud. You're telling me that when it says kodesh l'Hashem, then it means that it's Mammon Gavaya. Says Gemara, Hari Trumas Maisa. Again, Trumas Maisa is the Truma that the Levi separates from his Maisa Rishon and gives to the Kohen. It says that came to remove Gamatem Trumas Hashem, B'Tanan, Hamakadosh B'Truma. Anyone uses is Trumas Maisa is Mekudeshes. It says Hashem. And for the Gemara, the Lekasiv Be La Hashem. It says by Maisa Rishon Kodesh La Hashem, for Hashem. Over there it just says Hashem. Therefore you could use it. For the Gemara, and over here it says La Hashem, not Hashem, it says the Lamed for Hashem. So l'chayra, according to you, you should not be able to go ahead and be Mekadesh. But Tanan Hamagdish Betrumas here means anything, including Chala Mikudeshes. Says the Gemara, like Sivei Kodesh. Good, it says La Hashem, but it doesn't say Kodesh. Says the Gemara, Vari Shvius, the Chsiv Bei Yovel Hu Kodesh Tia Lochem. B'Tanan Hamakadesh Perish Shvius Mikudeshes, because it says Kodesh. Says the Mulaikasiv Bei Hashem. In other words, in order to be Mammon Gavoya, you have to need two things: Kodesh La Hashem. So by Chumas Maisa it says Hashem. By Chala it says La Hashem, but it doesn't say Kodesh. And by Shvius it says Kodesh, but not La Hashem. Furthermore, Truma Gedolah. Yechsiv Kodesh Yisrael La Hashem Reishis Tavua V'Tnan Hamakadesh B'Truma Mekudeshes. So look at the words, guys. Kodesh Yisrael La Hashem Reishis. So the Chayra, what is it saying? Who's Kodesh? Kodesh Yisrael La Hashem. Smashma who's Kodesh? B'nei Yisrael is Kodesh. Doesn't smash me that the Trum is Kodesh. It says who be Yisrael Ksiv? That's by Yisrael on the days. Right? Don't you hear Mela? If they're Kodesh, certainly the Trum is Kodesh. So fellas, if you're going to tell me anytime it says Kodesh La Hashem, it's Mammon Gavoya, and that's why by Maisa Sheni you can't be Mekadesh Nisha, then why by Truma could you be Mekadesh Nisha? Since it says Kodesh Yisrael La Hashem, and if Yisrael is Kodesh La Hashem, certainly the Truma is Kodesh La Hashem. And for the Gemara, Tigmar, Rabbi Savin, Kamei, the Rav, or Makra, it's not like you thought until now, Kodesh La Hashem. It's Hu La Hashem. What does Hu mean? Hu Ba'havai Sayyeh. It should say in that state of Avaya, of being for Hashem, and not being what for someone else. Okay, so Hu, it's Ma'isa Sheni, it says Hu La Hashem, it doesn't say that by any of the others. Ubehegdish b'maisa kidesh b'shoigeg loy kidesh divrei Remeya Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'shoigeg kidesh b'meised loy kidesh. Now l'chayra you have a kasha. What's the kasha? If you hold that kodesh you could use, or if you use it, it works. Where's the chilik that Remeya gets between if you do a shoigeg or a meised? And where's the chilik of Rabbi Yehuda saying there's a difference between shoigeg and meised? So Rav Yaakov. Shamis minei de Rabbi Yochanan, Tarti, Shigas Maisa, Rabbi Yehuda, Shigas Hegdish Rabbi Meir, Shneim says it doesn't make any sense that there should be a chilik between the two. Let's see this Rashi, guys. Fourth line down. Taima de Mitarti Bave, the Masnisan, the Tani, the two cases of the Mishnah, B'shoigeg loy kidesh, Shigas Maisa, Rabbi Yehuda, right? Hoyel ve'islei Maisa Mamen Hedidhu, Amai B'shoigeg loy kidesh. Since Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that Maisa Sheni is Mammon, your money, why, if you do it b'shoigeg, should it not work? Again, like Reb Meir, it didn't make a difference, shoigeg or mezid. Like Reb Yehuda, mezid, yes, it did work, shoigeg not. But why? If he holds its Mammon hedyet, why shouldn't it work? So that's one question. So, and the Shignas Hegdish Reb Meir, even this b'mezid kidesh, if he holds b'mezid, it does work. Shoigeg ma'ishno, what's the different shoigeg? So in other words, we don't understand these chalukim. By Hegdish, Reb Meir made a chilik between mezid and shoigeg. Mezid yes, shoigeg not. By Maisa, Reb Yehuda made a chilik. Mezid yes, shoigeg not. I don't understand why. If Reb Meir holds across the board, it's kodesh, it should make a difference. And if Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's Mammon Hedyet, it should make a difference. So that's what the Gemara means right now. Rabbi Yaakov. Shamas mina de Rabbi Yochanan, Tarti, Shigagas. I heard him say two Shigagas. Maisa de Rabbi Yehuda, Shigagas Hegdish de Rabbi Meir. Shneim, ein isha miskadeshes behem. In two of them, a woman's not mikudeshes. Chada lefi shein isha roitza. One because a woman doesn't want. The chada lefi shein shneim roitzim. They both don't want. V'lo yadana haiminayu. I don't know if it's going on the Kodesh. I don't know if it's going in the Maisa. So let's take a. This is going to make a big difference, guys. Take a look at a very old chart. In one case, they both said. In one case, only the Isha. Good. In other words, in one case, both Rabbi Yehuda and Rameya agree. Both saying they both agree. Rabbi Yehuda and Rameya. I'm not going to say that right. Both means the man and the woman don't want, and this one the woman doesn't want. Again, one case the woman doesn't want, the other one both the man and the woman don't want. But I don't know where it was. So here comes along Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yirmiyah, and he's going to tell you. Watch. B'shoigeg ma'aser sheni, right? So Rabbi Meir said, "Einu mekudeshes, einu mekudeshes," because it's mammon gevaya. I didn't understand over here. If Rabbi Yehuda holds it's mekudeshes by Mezid because it's your money, fellas, why does the einu mekudeshes over here? And the answer is because the woman doesn't want to schlep it to Yerushalayim. In other words, the reason einu mekudeshes is not because intrinsically that the money, you can't use the money. The woman's not going to want to take it. Since Ma'aser Sheni has to be in Yerushalayim, why should she take it and schlep it there? So therefore,
why Mezid
doesn't want what?
Why by Mezid she has to do the same thing, schlep it to Yerushalayim.
What?
By Mezid she has to schlep it to Yerushalayim also, no?
What? By shogeg means. Yeah, I think Mezid. I think that she accepted it. In other words, if she accepts it, she accepts it. Shogeg, she doesn't know, right? B'Mezid, she has to take it to Yerushalayim, but she's willing to accept that, right? Yeah, you hear the difference over here.
Yeah, here.
So now, in Mukudeshes. Now, they both, the man and the woman, would agree over here. In this case, the Shogeg's and Mukudeshes. Why? Because they both don't want to go ahead and take Hegdish and make it Chulin. That's called Me'ilah. They're taking it from its state of Hegdish, it's being used. So they both wouldn't want it. So says Rav Yirmiyah, you, Rav Yaakov, do not know where they applied, where the Isha and the man and the woman both don't want. I'd like to suggest the Shoigeg of Ma'aser Sheni is where the Isha would want, and the Hegdish of Ma'aser of Heg and the Shoigeg of Hegdish, according to Rameya, they won't want. That's the application. So let's see it in the Gemara now. I'll read it through again. I'm Rabbi Yaakov. Shamas minod Rabbi Yochanan Tarti, Shigas Ma'aser Rabbi Yehuda, Shigas Ma'aser Rabbi Yehuda. Why is it not any Mukudeshes? If he holds Mukudeshes here, it should be any Mukudeshes here, guys, right? And Shigas Rameya Shneim, and Shigas Rameya, he says Shogeg over here. Rameya says here it's not Mukudeshes, but in one of them, one of the Shogegs they both agree, and the other Shogeg they don't agree. So now, says the Gemara, one because the woman doesn't want, they both don't want, both the man and the woman don't want. Let's see. She's not happy, guys, right? She's not happy. Look at the chart. She's not happy over here because of the tircha of bringing it up. He's happy. The nikne is some memela. It's no sweat off his back, right? It's no sweat off his back. It's no tircha for him, so therefore he's happy. Ela hegdish travayla nichalahu. Guys, look at the chart. Hegdish, both of them, the man and the woman over here, are not happy. Why? The not schil hegdish al yadayu. That hegdish should become chulin through the hands. Got it, guys? So why didn't Rabbi Yochanan know, right? Rabbi Yaakov didn't know the application of Isha happy in one and not happy in one, and both not happy. It would appear this would be the right chart. Now Rav Yaakov is going to go ahead and say, I could say the opposite. Rav Yaakov, my ipchem established. Milo ikla meimar, Maisa over here, Ihi loy nichala, Mishum tircha de orcha, and Ihu loy nichalei, he's not happy, Mishum oitza de orcha. That what? That an oinus might take place on the way, and if you what happens is if an oinus takes place, she's going to be upset at him, right? I don't want to go ahead and have enough, get mekudeshes and something I can't have enough from. So he's not happy in this case also. So in other words, according to Yaakov, I could just say, put the word both in over here instead of Isha and say they're both not happy over here. And over here, I could say I put the word Isha in over here. So in other words, it's not, I could put the word Isha in over here and say this case. Back in the Gemara, how could I do that? Ela hegdish bishleim ihi lo nichala din iskal hegdish al yada. Ela iu mi lo nichala the niknei isasam memela. Right? In other words, guys, good. He's not happy necessarily that he's using hegdish. What happens if he wants to get married and doesn't have any other money? Fellas, he has no other money. All he has is this hegdish, right? So he could be happy. If b'shoigeg he used it, he could be happy. Why? Because he wants to get married and he doesn't have any other money. So says Rabbi Yaakov, I'm not locked into your chart. I'm not locked in saying over here Isha and here both. I could say here Isha and both over here. Did that work? Did that chart work, guys? Or was a lot of words? It worked? You know, you just switch it around. In other words, you're not locked in. That's all. Okay. Boy mine Rabba me Rav Chista. Isha ein miskadeshes b'mois. Ein miskadeshes kama mois mahu. Sheyotz l'chulin. Now, what did you do? You went ahead, like Reb Meir, you took money, and it's not yours, right? It's hegdish. You went ahead, you mekadesh nisha with it. So just like you can't be mekadesh using a chelik of a carbon, you can't go ahead and use money from hegdish. Now, does that money become chulin or not? Or does it say kodesh? Usually, when you moil behegdish, what happens? The kedusha goes off. Over here, we want to know, does that money retain its kedusha or not, since she's not mekudeshes? So Gemara says, well, I don't understand the answer. So Rav Chista answered, Amalei, Rav Chista told Rava, Isha ein miskadeshes. If the woman is not miskadeshes, mois hechi yatzilachulin. There was not, in other words, what happens if it's miskadeshes? Then the money went from Rishus of Hegdish to Rishus of the woman. Now you're telling me ain't mekudeshes. She's not mekudeshes. It remains in Hegdish. It remains in the jurisdiction of Hegdish. So that's not a shaila. Okay. What about if by accident you go ahead and you go ahead and use it? And I think we're going to hold off till tomorrow because it flows into the next daf. So at Bez Hashem tomorrow we'll have two dafim. We'll say one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Bez Hashem.